Okay, we're good. Big fan. Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Setting up Instagram. And ooh, I am hungry. Dang me for forgetting to eat. Um, I love this. I love this background. Hey, it's the pink. It's the pink because it's Wednesday, so we're doing pink. This is definitely. Oh, yes, it's the hoops. Thank you, friend. All right, hold on. Ah, dang it. It always happens. I am clearly not home. I am clearly not home. And I am very happy about that. Having a great time. Got everything set up. Have the bestest best friends in the world. Make my life so much easier. There's a ring light to my left. Yes, that's the one that I have set up. I moved that one and put it over here. Um, and then I have the other one on. So I'm all good. I'm all set. I think I can put one more book here. Put one more book here, and it's kind of making my color look weird over here. But hi, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, y'all. Welcome in, y'all. Welcome in, welcome in. Mm-mm, mm-mm. I'm gonna give it a few minutes, get everybody in here. Mm. I am so excited to be back. Had to change locations real quick. Very, very excited to be back. I wish I could see all the pink that's in here, because that would be more perfect than even this shirt. Um, because it's Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I wear pink. We wear pink, and we drink wine. I don't have a lot of wine because I didn't eat a lot of food, so not a lot of wine. Oh, I got these at the beauty supply store. I got these at the beauty supply store. I like them. I like them. They thick, and I like that. I like that a lot. Ah. mm. Ooh, I'm gonna have to call her. Yeah, I'm gonna have to call her right after I get done with this. Call her when I get done with this. Thank you. Okay, y'all really like these earrings. I'm excited. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all, stop. I like them too. I like them a lot. They big. I love beauty. Yeah, beauty supply store earrings are the absolute best. The absolute best. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. Let's share this on Twitter, girls, if I can. Sorry, y'all. I'm very focused on sending this. Come on, sending this tweet. Paste. we go. And I'm back. And I'm back. Fantastic. Oh, y'all are so nice. You guys are so nice. Well, welcome back, y'all. Welcome to Reading with Miss Taylor Said. My name is Taylor, also known as Miss Taylor Said, and I am the host of this show. Um, I started this show on November 30th, 2020, um, because I had some goals that I wanted to accomplish. The first goal being to read the books I actually own. I've purchased and accumulated a lot of books over the years. I've started reading some of them and I haven't read most of them. So I want to actually finish the books that I've purchased over the years and read them at all, you know? Um, that's one of the goals that I have. The second goal that I have is to get more comfortable with reading aloud in front of an audience. The things that I want to do in my career are going to involve me reading cue cards, note cards, teleprompters, speeches, things like that. It's going to require me to do some reading in front of an audience, and I want to make sure that I'm able to do that and articulate the things that I'm reading well and enunciate and all of the things. Get some good practice in with speaking the words on the page aloud and making sure they're being conveyed exactly the way that they're supposed to be. So I am doing that. And the last thing that I want to accomplish is I want to get more comfortable with public speaking again. It's something that I used to do when I was in high school and college. I'm almost 30 and I have not done it in almost 10 years. So I want to get more comfortable with doing that again and engaging with an audience as well. And 2020 gave me the perfect platform to be able to do that virtually. So I appreciate you guys for showing up every single time y'all come here. Anybody that's new watching, welcome to Reading with Miss Taylor Said. We are currently reading The Mastery of Love. We're reading The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And the book that we just finished reading was called The Four Agreements. And that is based on some of the wisdom from the Toltecs in Mexico. And The Four Agreements was a great book. The Four Agreements being to be impeccable with your word, take nothing personally, um, never make assumptions, and to always do your best. So he references those things and talks about how in life, what we perceive as life is the dream and we are in control of how the dream works and how we perceive the dream. And we've been domesticated by the way that we've been raised, by the indoctrinations of society. We've been domesticated to perceive hell when we're in a position right now in our own minds to create the dream of heaven for ourselves. So this book he talks about the art of the art of the relationship, and so it's going to talk about emotional things. So the next chapter, first chapter, he talked about the wounded mind and how we're all walking around wounded. Cross my legs. We're all walking around wounded. The way that human society, the way he described to personify the emotional wounds that we all carry is imagining if everyone had a skin disease, like every single person had a skin disease with open and infected wounds, and every time somebody touches it, every time somebody says something to touch that wound that you got from childhood trauma, from someone's mean words, from being bullied, from, you know, any of that, like when someone touches it, we just like, no, don't touch me. And so we miss out on connections because we're all afraid of touching and being touched on those infected wounds that are our emotional traumas and our emotional pains and our domestication. So what do I want to say? So that first chapter, that's what he was talking about. The next chapter is called The Loss of Innocence. And like, share those things. Send this to invite a friend, tag a friend, tell them come on over and watch the show. All right. So the second chapter is The Loss of Innocence. Humans by nature are very sensitive beings. We're so emotional because we perceive everything with the emotional body. The emotional body is like a radio that can be tuned to perceive certain frequencies or to react to certain frequencies. The normal frequency of humans before domestication is to explore and to enjoy life. We are tuned to love. As children, we don't have any definition of love as an abstract concept. We just live love. It's the way we are. The emotional body has a component like an alarm system to let us know when something is wrong. It is the same with the physical body. It has an alarm system to let us know something is wrong with our body. We call this pain. When we feel pain, it is because there's something wrong with the body that we have to look at and fix. The alarm system for the emotional body is fear. When we feel fear, it's because there's something wrong. Perhaps we are in danger of losing our life. The emotional body perceives emotions, but not through the eyes. We perceive emotions through our emotional body. Children just feel emotions, and their reasoning mind doesn't interpret or question them. This is why children accept certain people and reject other people. When they don't feel confident around someone, they reject that person because they can feel the emotions that person is projecting. Okay? Children can easily perceive when someone is angry and their alarm system generates a little fear that says, stay away. And they follow their instinct. They stay away. We learn to be emotional according to the emotional energy in our home and our personal reaction to that energy. That is why every brother and sister will react differently according to how they learn to defend themselves and adapt to different circumstances. When our parents are constantly fighting, when there is disharmony, disrespect, and lies, we learn the emotional way of being like them. Even if they tell us not to be that Even if they tell us not to be that way and not to lie, the emotional energy of our parents, our entire family, will make us perceive the world in a similar way. Child, listen, it's true. It's true. Like the way I perceive the world is through the glasses of my upbringing. It's the way I perceive the world is through the glasses of my upbringing. And the way I relate to people, my first reference point is how I relate to how I relate to my family. So it always goes back to that. That's what I've been told. It always goes back to that. The emotional energy that lives in our home is going to tune our emotional body to that frequency. The emotional body starts to change its tune and is no longer the normal tune of the human being. We play the game of the adults. We play the game of the outside dream and we lose. We lose our innocence, we lose our freedom, we lose our happiness, and we lose our tendency to love. We are forced to change and we start perceiving another world, another reality, the reality of injustice, the reality of emotional pain, the reality of emotional poison. Welcome to hell, the hell that humans create, which is the dream of the planet. We are welcomed into that hell, but we don't invent it personally. It was here before we were born. You can see how real love and freedom are destroyed by looking at children. Imagine a child 2 or 3 years old running and having fun at the park. Mom is there watching the little guy and she's afraid he might fall or hurt himself. At a certain point, she wants to stop him and the child thinks mom is playing with him, so he tries to run faster from her. Cars are passing in the street nearby, which makes mom even more afraid, and finally she catches them. She catches him. The child is expecting her to play, but she spanks him. Boom! It's a shock. The child's happiness was the expression of love coming out of him, and he does not understand why she is acting this way. This is a shock that stops love little by little over time. The child does not understand words, but even so, he can question why. Running and playing is an expression of love, but it's no longer safe because your parents punish you when you express your love. They send you to your room and you cannot do what you want to do. They tell you that you are being a bad boy or a bad girl, and that puts you down. That means punishment. In that system of reward and punishment, there's a sense of justice and injustice. What is fair and what is not fair? The sense of injustice is like a knife that opens an emotional wound in the mind. Then, according to our reaction to the injustice, The wound may get infected with emotional poison. Why do some wounds get infected? Let's look at another example. Imagine that you are 2 or 3 years old. You are happy, you are playing, you are exploring. You aren't conscious of what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, because you are not yet domesticated. You are playing in the living room with whatever is around you. You don't have any bad intention. You don't try to hurt anything, but you are playing with your daddy's guitar. For you, it's just a toy. You don't try to hurt your daddy at all. But your father is having one of those days when he doesn't feel right. He has problems in his business and he goes into the living room and finds you playing with his things. He gets mad right away and grabs you and spanks you. This is injustice from your point of view. Your father just comes and with anger he hurts you. This was someone you trusted completely because he is your daddy, someone who usually protects you and allows you to play and allows you to be you. Now there is something that doesn't quite fit. That sense of injustice is like a pain in your heart. You feel sensitive. It hurts and makes you cry. But you cry not just because he spanks you. It's not the physical aggression that hurts you. It's the emotional aggression you feel is not fair. You didn't do anything. That sense of injustice opens a wound in your mind. Your emotional mind is wounded, and in that moment, you lose a little part of your innocence. You learn that you cannot always trust your father. Excuse me. Even if your mind doesn't know that yet, because your mind doesn't analyze, it still understands I cannot trust. Sorry. Even if your mind doesn't know that yet, because your mind doesn't analyze, it still understands I cannot trust. Your reaction, your emotional body tells you there is something that you cannot trust and that something can be repeated. Your reaction might be fear, your reaction might be anger or being shy or just crying. But that reaction is already emotional poison because that normal reaction before domestication is that your daddy spanks you and you want to hit him back. You hit him back or just intend to put your hand up, and that makes your father even madder at you. The reaction of your father is for the reaction of your father for just putting your hand up against him creates a worse punishment. Now you know he will destroy you. Now you are afraid of him and you no longer defend yourself because you know it will only make things worse. You still don't understand why, but you know your father can even kill you. This opens a fierce wound in your mind. Before this, your mind was completely healthy. You were completely innocent. After this, the reasoning mind tries to do something with the experience. You learn to react in a certain way, your personal way. You keep that emotion with you and it changes your way of life. This experience will repeat itself more often now. The injustice will come from mom and dad, from brothers and sisters, from aunts and uncles, from school, from society, from everyone. With each fear, you learn to defend yourself, but not the way you did before domestication, when you would defend yourself and just keep playing. Now, there is something inside the wound that at first is not a big problem: emotional poison. The emotional poison accumulates and the mind begins to play with that poison. Now we start to worry a little about the future we have. Now we start to worry a little about the future because we have the memory of the poison and we don't want that to happen again. We also have memories of being accepted. We remember mom and dad being good to us and living in harmony. We want that harmony, but we don't know how to create it. And because we are inside the bubble of our own perception, whatever happens around us now seems as if it is because of us. Ooh, we believe mom and dad fight because of us, even if it doesn't have anything to do with us. Child, when I tell you I blamed myself for my parents breaking up and for them fighting and stuff like that, child, I didn't even do nothing. Yes, it's very well said. Little by little, we lose our innocence. We start to feel resentment, then we no longer forgive. Over time, These incidents and interactions let us know it's not safe to be who we really are. Of course, this will vary mm, of course this will vary in intensity with each human with each human according to his intelligence and education. It will depend on many things. If you are lucky, the domestication is not that strong. But if you are not so lucky, the domestication can be so strong and the wound so deep, you can even be afraid to speak. The result is, oh, I'm shy. Shyness is the fear of expressing yourself. You may believe you don't know how to dance or how to sing, but this is just repression of the normal human instinct to express love. That makes me think about the not even being able to speak. That makes me think about Maya Angelou and how she was mute for, I want to say, when she was 8 years old. She was like mute for like 8 years of her life. I want to say it was 8 years that she was mute. Um, because she had spoke up for herself and she said that someone had did something to her, and then the man went to jail, and when he was let out, he was killed. And she when she found out about it, she overheard the adults talking about it, and she blamed herself. And so she was like, I don't want to speak ever again. And then for 8 years she didn't speak. And boy and baby, when she decided to speak, Lord, it changed everything. But like, that's how powerful that stuff can be. That's how powerful that stuff can be, and how like drastically it can change the mind of a child. Ooh. Humans use fear to domesticate humans, and our fear increases with with each experience of injustice. The sense of injustice is the knife that opens a wound in our emotional body. Emotional poison is created by our reaction to what we consider injustice. Some wounds will heal, others will become infected with more and more poison. Excuse me. Once we are full of emotional poison, we have the need to release it, and we practice releasing the poison by sending it to someone else. How do we do this? By hooking that person's attention. Let's take an example of an ordinary couple. For whatever reason, the wife is mad. She has a lot of emotional poison from an injustice that comes from her husband. The husband is not home, but she remembers that injustice, and the poison is growing inside. When the husband comes home, the first thing she wants to do is hook his attention, because once she hooks his attention, all the poison can go to her husband and she can feel the relief. As soon as she tells him how bad he is, how stupid or how unfair he is, that poison she has inside of her is transferred to the husband. She keeps talking and talking until she gets his attention. The husband finally reacts and gets mad, and she feels better. But now the poison is going through him, and he has to get even. He has to hook her attention and release that poison. But it's not just her poison, it's her poison plus his poison. If you look at this interaction, you'll see that they are touching each other's wounds and playing ping pong with emotional poison. The poison keeps growing and growing until someday one of them is going to explode. This is often how humans relate with each other. By hooking the attention, the energy goes from one person to another person. The attention is something very powerful in the human mind. Everyone around the world is hunting the attention of others all the time. When we capture the attention, excuse me, when we capture the attention, we create channels of communication. The dream is transferred, power is transferred, but emotional poison is transferred also. hmm Usually we release the poison with the person we think is responsible for the injustice. But if that person is so powerful that we cannot send it to him, we don't care who we send it to. We send it to the little ones who have no defense against us, and that is how abusive relationships are formed. The people of power abuse the people who have less power because they need to release their emotional poison. And period. Period. That's how abuse is formed. You're upset about something going on in your life. You're upset about an injustice that you feel happened to you, and so then you find the person that can't stand up for themselves to you, and then you put it on them, and then abuse. And abuse has a very Wide spectrum. Has a very wide spectrum of what is considered abuse. And that's basically it. Where is my place? Mm-mm. We have the need to release that poison. Yep. We have the need to release that poison. And sometimes we don't want the justice. We just want to release. We want peace. That is why humans are hunting power all the time, because the more powerful we are, the easier it is to release the poison to others who cannot defend themselves. CEOs of major corporations. Of course, we are talking about relationships in hell. We are talking about the mental disease that exists on this planet. There is no one to blame for this disease. It is not good or bad or right or wrong. It is simply the normal pathology of this disease. No one is guilty for being abusive. Just as people on that imaginary planet are not guilty because their skin is sick. We are not guilty because we have wounds infected with poison. When you are physically sick or injured, you don't blame yourself or feel guilty. Then why feel bad or feel guilty when your emotional body is sick? What is important is to have the awareness that we have this problem. If we have this awareness, we have the opportunity to heal our emotional body, our emotional mind, and stop the suffering. Without the awareness, there's nothing we can do. The only thing we can do is keep suffering from the interaction with other humans, but not just with other humans, with other humans, the interaction with our own self, because we also touch our own wounds just to be punished. Sarante's over here saying something. All the more reason to be reasonable and stay in control of your emotions, because if I'm at fault, then it's more important to be told, even when being lashed out at has to be a reason. There has to be a reason, so it's better to understand, not get mad, and come to a conclusion. Yeah, go for understanding. Go for understanding. Ask questions for understanding instead of coming at somebody and being like, well, you did this. Like, no, try and get as much clarity as you possibly can. Ask questions. And you can't think of a question, think of a better, like, you think you don't have a good question, think of a better question. You can do it. You just have to identify the information that you want to know. Do you want to get even? Or do you want to get down to the truth? Do you want to get down to what the actual problem is? Or what the actual issue is? Or what the actual pattern is? Do you want to identify it so that you can eliminate it? Or do you just want to be right? Ba-da-ba. Okay. What is important is to have the awareness that we have the problem. If we have the awareness, we have the opportunity to heal. Oh, I already read that part. Sorry. In our mind, we create that part of us that is always judging. The judge is judging everything we do, everything we don't do, everything we feel, everything we don't feel. We are judging ourselves all the time, and we are judging everyone else all the time based on what we believe and based on the sense of justice and injustice. Of course, we find ourselves guilty and we need to be punished. The other part of our mind that receives the judgment and has the need to be punished is the victim. That part of us says, poor me, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not intelligent enough. Why should I try? When you were a child, you could not choose what to believe. You you could not choose what to believe and what not to believe. Welcome in. The judge and the victim are based on all of the false beliefs you didn't choose. When that information went into your mind, you were innocent. You believed everything. The belief system was put inside you like a program by the outside dream. The Toltecs call this program the parasite. The human mind is sick because it has a parasite that steals its vital energy and robs it of joy. The parasite is all those beliefs that make you suffer. Those beliefs that are so strong that years later, when you learn new concepts and try to make your own decisions, you find those beliefs still control your life. Sometimes the little child inside you comes out, the real you that stays at the age of 2 or 3 years old. You are having in the moment, you are living in the moment and having fun, but there's something pulling you back. Something inside feels unworthy of having too much fun. I know we all guilty of that. An inner voice tells you that your happiness is too good to be true. It isn't right to be too happy. It isn't right to be too happy. All the guilt, all the blame, all the emotional poison in your emotional body keeps pulling you back into the world of drama. The parasite spreads like a disease from our grandparents to our parents to ourselves, and then we give it to our own children. We put all those programs inside our children the same way we train a dog. Humans are domesticated animals, and this domestication leads us into the dream of hell where we live in fear. The food for the parasite is the emotions that come from fear. Before we get the parasite, we enjoy life. We play, we are happy like little children. But after all that garbage is put into our minds, we know we are no longer happy. We learn to be right and to make everyone else wrong. The need to be right, like I was just saying, the need to be right is the result of trying to protect the image we want to project to the outside. We have to impose our way of thinking not just onto other humans, but to but even upon ourselves. With awareness, we can easily understand why relationships don't work. With our parents, with our children, with our friends, with our partner, and even with ourselves. Why doesn't the relationship with ourselves work? Because we are wounded and we have all that emotional poison that we can hardly handle. We are full of poison because we grew up with an image of perfection that is not true, which does not exist. And in our mind, it isn't fair. We have seen how we create that image of perfection to please other people, even though they create their own dream that has nothing to do with us. We try to please mom and dad. We try to please our teacher, our minister, our religion, and God. But the truth is that from their point of view, we are never going to be perfect. That image of perfection tells us how we should be in order to acknowledge that we are good in order to accept ourselves. But guess what? That is the biggest lie we believe about ourselves because we are never going to be perfect. And there's no way that we can forgive ourselves for not being perfect. That image of perfection changes the way we dream. We learn to deny ourselves and reject ourselves. We're never good enough or right enough or clean enough or healthy enough according to all those beliefs we have. There's always something the judge can never accept or forgive. That is why we reject our own humanity. That is why we never deserve to be happy. That is why we are searching for someone who abuses us, someone who will punish us. We have a very high level of self abuse because of that image of perfection. When we reject ourselves and judge ourselves, we find ourselves guilty and punish ourselves so much it looks like there is no love. It looks like there's only punishment, only suffering, only judgment in this world. Hell has many different levels. Some people are very deep in hell, and other people are hardly in hell, but they are still in hell. There are very abusive relationships in hell and relationships with hardly any abuse. You are no longer a child. And if you have an abusive relationship, it's because you accept that abuse, because you believe you deserve it. We're just going to sit with that one for a second. It's because you believe you deserve it. If you're honest, if you're honest with yourself, not choosing yourself is a form of not loving yourself. And how people should treat you right. People should treat you with love and respect. And this is not absolving the abuser for being abusive, but it's also acknowledging that if you're being honest with yourself, you know when you were in an abusive situation, it's because that's what you believed was enough at the time. That's what you believed was good enough at that time. Because maybe before that moment, you had something that you felt was worse, or you just hadn't experienced anything like this before. So they treat you a little bit better than you treat yourself. And it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe did this. I can't believe they did that. And I've never even done that for myself. And they did this. And then they just have to do like two or three more things than you do for yourself. And then just stay consistent with what you do, including when you are mean to yourself and when you hurt yourself and when you don't believe in yourself, including that. All they got to do is mimic your behavior and do a couple more things better than what you do for yourself, and boom, you are you're with someone that is abusive because they're pouring their emotional poison that has nothing to do with even how they're mimicking you of your treatment of yourself. It's their own additional like self-hatred and stuff that they're pouring into you as well. And so then it's just, well, it's a bunch of grossness. All right. If you have an abusive relationship, it's because you accept that abuse, because you believe you deserve it. You have a limit to the amount of abuse you will accept, but no one in the whole world abuses you more than you abuse yourself. The limit of your self abuse is the limit you will tolerate from other people. If someone abuses you more than you abuse yourself, you walk away, you run, you escape. But if someone abuses you a little less than you abuse yourself, perhaps you stay longer. You still deserve that abuse. Usually in a normal relationship in hell, it's about payment for an injustice. It's about getting even. It's about getting even, getting got. I abuse you the way you need to be abused, and you abuse me the way I need to be abused. We have a good equilibrium. It works. Of course, energy attracts the same kind of energy, the same vibration. If someone comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm so abused," and you ask, "Well, why do you stay there?" He doesn't even know why. The truth is he needs that abuse because that is the way he punishes himself. Life brings you exactly what you need. There is perfect justice in hell. There is nothing to blame. We can even say that our suffering is a gift. Woo! Our suffering is a gift. Our suffering is a gift, y'all. Our suffering is a gift. If you just open your eyes and see what is around you, it's exactly what you need to clean your poison, to heal your wounds, to accept yourself and get out of hell. Ooh, he says something right there. Now, that was the end of that second chapter. Let me see how long this third chapter is. Third chapter is not that long either, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going, y'all. Ooh, he says something right there. Ooh, let me not shake the bed. He says something right there. Life will bring you exactly what you need. Life will bring you exactly what you need. It's life is gonna come to your front door and they're gonna be like, hey, you need to learn patience. So I'm gonna keep putting you in situations where you have to exercise patience. And until it I don't know a whole lot about Naruto, but I do know about that loop that Itachi had Sasuke in when he was reanimated. And baby, that loop, it plays the same scenario over and over and over again. And it's an infinite loop. And you can't get out of the loop. It just keeps going back and it keeps resetting the same scenario over and over and over again. Because every time you mess it up, you start over. Every time you mess it up, you start over. And that's what happens in life. Every time we mess up and every time we don't learn our lesson when we go through something, we get told, all right, you gotta do it again. Run it back. Run it back. You got to do it again every single time until you learn the lesson. And when you learn the lesson, and when you learn the lesson, that's when you break out of the loop. When you learn your mistake, you identify your mistake and you change your behavior based on the mistake based on identifying the mistake that you made. That's it. That's that's all you have to do. You don't have to hurt yourself. You don't have to, and when I say hurt yourself, you don't have to like sit there and talk bad about yourself and down yourself and make yourself feel bad. You don't, and I'm saying this to myself because I'm real good for I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. I'm like this and because of this, like, I'm really good about putting myself down and being really hard on myself for no reason and expecting perfection from myself. But so if I'm constantly disappointed with myself about how I'm not perfect, why would I not attract somebody that is going to constantly be disappointed in me because I'm not perfect? Someone that's going to be looking for that perfection in me too. Because as much as I would want to attract somebody that would reaffirm me and stuff like that, it's just like they're going to have their own way of negging me because I neg myself, you know? I build myself up just to tear myself down. I give myself a compliment. I acknowledge something that I'm proud of myself just to self deprecate because I got to stay humble. Uh, Setting a high standard for how you treat yourself and treating yourself exactly the way that you want to be treated sets a high standard for how people should treat you. And if you are pouring love into yourself, if you are doing the things that make you feel comfortable, if you're doing the things that your instincts and your intuition are telling you to do, if you're doing the things that come with ease and comfort, if you're doing those things and living in the way that is just makes you feel like you're living in bliss, making those choices, you you set the standard for exactly how other people should treat you and how other people should love you. And I'm not just talking about romantically, I'm talking about in all of your relationships. Letting it be known, these are my intentions. These are my intentions of how I treat myself, and get on board or we don't have to talk. Simple as that. No hard feelings. Because if we go back to the four agreements, take nothing personally. Don't take it personally. When people are intimidated by your level of self love and they find out that they can't treat you worse than you treat yourself. They can't treat you like they used to treat you because your self love is far greater than what you used to accept from them. Listen, I just, I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot, and what sets me free is loving myself. What sets me free every single time I get caught up in a cycle of abuse with a person, no matter those type of relationship it is, every single time I get caught up in the cycle of abuse with a person, when I choose myself, when I choose boundaries, when I choose to only like this is the only kind of conversation I'm really trying to have. I'm not trying to talk about nothing that's messy. I'm not trying to talk about nothing that's raggedy. I'm not trying to do all of that. I'm not trying to do all that. Or if I'm just like, hey, I I want, or even better is doing things like, okay, I'm looking for, listen, listen, you want to know what got homie from Valentine's Day caught up in the mix and got him tripped up was that in the little rough patch or whatever that was going on, I was like, I feel like I'm not getting enough time with you. Well, duh, that's why. But I was just like, I feel like I'm not getting enough time with you, and I want to make sure that we having conversations, doing check-ins, because thinking it's a whole relationship, doing a check-in is just like, I'm asking for more time and more communication and more. I'm asking for more. And it's like, okay, there's a frustration here because I feel like you're not seeing the things I already am doing. Cool. You know what? I'm tripping. Taylor's tripping. Maybe I'm tripping. So you know what? When I got really emotional about it. It was the first time I ever got that emotional in the whole year and a half or whatever. And I got emotional about it, and I was just like, man, like what is going on? Intuition was on fire, but it was just like, what is going on? It was just like, you know what? Then the mindset change where it's just like, you know what? The things that you want to see, And it's the same thing that old girl said last week. The things that you want to see, do them. You do them. You prioritize them. You want more phone calls? Call more. You want more text messages where you're talking about different things that you don't normally text? Text it more. Be bold. Do more. Do do the things that you want to see and see if you get that back. Got it back for like this much, and then it was overwhelming because I needed more than they were able to give because they had their situation. But yeah, like it's like you want to be the perfect example of how to love you. You want to walk in every single day, head high, shoulders back, you know, smile on your face if you so choose, if that's what makes you feel loved, if that's what makes you feel good about yourself. But doing the things that you want to do, expressing yourself in the ways that you want to express yourself to show everybody, like, this is the standard. And if this is not what you can get on board with, then that's cool. Remove yourself. No worries. If you can't get on board with the way, I exist, no worries. Move on with your life, and you don't have to change me, and I don't have to be frustrated with you. And then that's that. But when we allow ourselves to adjust, those are the moments where it's when you adjust yourself to accommodate somebody else, you're signaling to them, you can abuse me in a slight way. And I'm saying when you adjust yourself to accommodate somebody else, I'm not talking about doing stuff like, oh, I need you to communicate with me more because, I feel like I don't get to connect with you as often. Friend, lover, whatever. Okay. Adjusting a communication, adjusting a practice or a pattern, that's one thing. But telling someone to adjust their personality, their confidence, how they feel about themselves, adjust their feelings, no. But when you allow somebody to do that, when you allow somebody to adjust your personality, adjust your self expression, adjust your level of confidence, adjust the way you feel about things or how you perceive things, it's like you're telling them that you can be controlled and manipulated, and then they take advantage and see how far they can take it. Sarante put it perfectly right there. That's exactly what you're telling them. Like, you're telling them this is exactly what you can do to me. You see that? You're rewarding them. It's like, if listen, it's a domestication as well. It's a domestication as well. They're having bad behavior and you're giving them a treat. It's like you're asking me to do something that is unreasonable to ask a person. You're asking me to change how I express myself. Unreasonable. You're asking me to change my personality, to change my behaviors, my regular behaviors that have nothing to do with our relationship. Asking me to adjust how I treat you, that we can get on board with that because that has something to do with me and you and our connection and my behavior towards you. We can talk about behavior. But if you're asking me to change something that was already established, that was already a part of my life before you got here, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to stop being that to make you more comfortable. I'm not going to stop exploring things in my life to make you more comfortable. I'm not going to stop pursuing my journey and my path to make you more comfortable. How many of us have wasted years of our lives, years of our lives, adjusting ourselves to make ourselves fit into these boxes that people created? They They little box don't know you. Their box does not know you. It doesn't know how you operate. It doesn't know what your purpose is in this world. It doesn't know your blessings. It doesn't know who you are. It don't know shit about you. All it knows is that I would feel better if you were in here because when you're out there, it makes me uncomfortable. That's all that box knows. So get in here so I can keep you closed. Keep you closed. Shh. Be quiet. Shh. Nope. Don't be yourself. Don't be yourself. That causes too much ruckus. That causes too much ruckus. Don't be yourself because that makes me uncomfortable. You are the only one that can show people how to love you. Nobody else that has loved you before is going to have that has has loved you before is going to give the next person, the next friend, the next, you know, significant other. They're not going to give them a manual on how to love you, but you can be a perfect example of how to love you. You can set that standard right there. High. You can be pushy, you can be demanding, and you can have high standards. You can have high requirements of the type of person that you want to be around and the type of people that you want to be around based on their character and how they treat others. Honestly, honestly. Mm. Y'all, tonight's episode has been so fun. This has been so great. I'm thinking I might end in a little bit because 52 minutes in, that's about an hour. And the next chapter is short, so we probably can get through, unless he's saying something that we can talk about extensively, we might get through chapter 3. You know what? Let's just finish chapter 3. We can knock this out real quick. Let's do that. The man who didn't believe in love. Ooh, it's a story time. I want to tell you a very old story about the man who didn't believe in love. This was an ordinary man just like you and me, but what made this man special was his way of thinking. He thought love doesn't exist. Of course, he had a lot of experience trying to find love and he had observed the people around him. Much of his life had been spent much of his life had been spent searching for love, only to find that love didn't exist. Wherever this man went, he used to tell people that love is nothing but an invention of the poets, an invention of religions just to manipulate the weak mind of humans, to have control over humans, to make them believe. He said that love is not real and that's why no human could ever find love even though he might look for it. This man was highly intelligent and he was very convincing. He read a lot of books, he went to the best universities and he became a respected scholar. He could stand at any public space in front of any kind of people and his logic was very strong. Jesus. Ooh, ooh, it be strong. What he said was that love is just like a drug. It makes you very high, but it creates a strong need. You can become highly addicted to love, but what happens when you don't receive your daily dose of love? Just like a drug, you need your everyday doses. He used to say that most relationships between lovers are just like a relationship between a drug addict and the one that provides the drugs. The one who has the biggest need is like the drug addict, and the one who has a little need is like the provider. The one who has the little need is the one who controls the whole relationship. The one who has the little need is the one that controls the whole relationship. You can see this dynamic so clearly because usually in every relationship, there is one who loves the most and one who doesn't love, who only takes advantage of the one who gives his or her heart. You can see the way they manipulate each other, their actions and reactions, and they are just like the provider and the drug addict. The drug addict, the one who has the biggest need, lives in constant fear that perhaps he will not be able to get the next dosage of love or the drug. The drug addict thinks, what am I going to do if she leaves me? That fear makes the drug addict very possessive. That's mine. The addict becomes jealous and demanding because the fear of not having the next dosage. The provider can control and manipulate the one who needs the drug by giving more doses, fewer doses, or no doses at all. The one who has the biggest need completely surrenders and will do whatever he can to avoid being abandoned. Child. The man went on explaining to everyone why love doesn't exist. What humans call love is nothing but a fear relationship based on control. Where is the respect? Where is the love they claim to have? There is no love. Young couples in front of the representation of God, in front of their family and friends, make a lot of promises. Excuse me, a lot. Excuse me. Make a lot of promises to each other to live together forever, to love and respect each other, to be there for each other through the good times and the bad times. They promise to love and honor each other and to make promises and more promises. What is amazing is that they really believe these promises. But after the marriage, 1 week later, a month later, thank you, 1 week later, a month later, a few months later, you can see that none of these promises are kept. What you find is a war of control to see who will manipulate who will be the provider and who will have the addiction. Who you find the next few months later, the respect they swear to have for each other is gone. You can see the resentment, the emotional poison, and how they hurt each other little by little. And it grows and grows until they don't know when the love stops. They stay together because they are afraid to be alone, afraid of the opinions and judgments of others, and also afraid that their own judgments and opinions. But where is the love? He used to claim that he saw many old couples that had lived together 30, 40, 50 years, and they were so proud that they had lived together all those years. But when they talked about their relationship, what they said was, "We survived the matrimony." That means one of them surrendered to the other. At a certain time, she gave up and decided to endure the suffering. The one with the strongest will and less need won the war. But where is the flame they call love? They treat each other like a possession. She is mine. He is mine. The man went on and on about all the reasons why he believed love doesn't exist. And he told others, "I have done all of that already. I will no longer allow anyone to manipulate my mind and control my life in the name of love." His arguments were quite logical, and he convinced many people by all his words love doesn't exist. Then one day, this man was walking in the park, and there was a bench, and on the bench was a beautiful lady who was crying. When he saw her crying, he felt curiosity. Sitting beside her, he asked if he could help her. He asked why she was crying. You can imagine his surprise when she told him she was crying because love doesn't exist. He said, "This is amazing. A woman who believes that love doesn't exist." Of course, he wanted to know more about her. "Why do you say love doesn't exist?" he asked. "Well, it's a long story," she replied. "I married when I was very young, with all that love, all these illusions, full of hope that I would share my life with this man. We swore to each other our loyalty, respect, and honor, and we created a family. But soon everything changed. I was the devoted wife who took care of the children and the home. My husband continued to develop his career, his success and image outside of home was more important to him than our family. He lost respect for me, and I lost respect for him. We hurt each other, and at a certain point I discovered that I didn't love him and that he didn't love me either. But the children needed a father, and that was my excuse to stay and do whatever I could to support him. Now the children are grown and they have left. I no longer have any excuse to stay with him. There's no respect, there's no kindness. I know that even if I find someone else, it's going to be the same because love doesn't exist. There's no sense to look around for something that doesn't exist. That is why I'm crying." Understanding her very well, he embraced her and said, "You are right. Love doesn't exist. We look for love, we open our heart, and we become vulnerable just to find selfishness. That hurts us even if we don't think we will be hurt. Excuse me. That hurts us even if we don't think we will be hurt. It doesn't matter how many relationships we have, the same thing happens again and again. Why even search for love any longer?" They were so much alike and they became the best friends ever. It was a wonderful relationship. They respected each other and they never put each other down. With every step they took together, they were happy. There was no envy or jealousy. There was no control. There was no possessiveness. The relationship kept growing and growing. They loved to be together because when they were together, they had lots of fun. When they were not together, they missed each other. One day, when the man was out of town, he had the weirdest idea. He was thinking, Maybe what I feel for her is love, but this is no different than what I have ever felt before. It's not what the poets say it is. Excuse me. He said, but this is so different from what I have ever felt before. It's not what the poets say it is. It's not what religion says because I am not responsible for her. I don't take anything from her. I don't have the need to I don't have the need for her to take care of me. I don't need to blame her for my difficulties or take my dramas to her. We have the best time together. We enjoy each other. I respect the way she thinks, the way she feels. She doesn't embarrass me. She doesn't bother me at all. I don't feel jealous when she's with other people. I don't feel envy when she is successful. Perhaps love does exist, but it's not what everyone thinks love is. He could hardly wait to go back home and talk to her, to let her know about his weird idea. As soon as he started talking, she said, I know exactly what you are talking about. I had the same idea long ago, but I didn't want to share it with you because I know you don't believe in love. Perhaps love does exist, but it isn't what we thought it was. They decided to become lovers and to live together, and it was amazing that things didn't change. They still respected each other, they were still supportive of each other, and the love grew more and more. Even the simplest things made their hearts sing with love because they were so happy. The man's heart was so full with all the love he felt that one night a great miracle happened. He was looking at the stars and he found the most beautiful one. And his love was so big that the stars started coming down from the sky, and soon the star was in his hands. Then a second miracle happened, and his soul merged with that star. He was intensely happy, and he could hardly wait to go to the woman and put that star in her hands to prove his love for her. As soon as he put the star in her hands, she felt a moment of doubt. This love was overwhelming, and in that moment, the star fell from her hands and broke into a million little pieces. Now there is an old man walking around the world swearing that love doesn't exist, and there is a beautiful old woman at home waiting for a man shedding a tear for a paradise that once she had in her hands, but for one moment of doubt, she let it go. This is the story about the man who didn't believe in love. Who made the mistake? Do you want to guess what went wrong? The mistake was on the man's part in thinking he could give the woman his happiness. Woo! Woo! Shoot! The star was his happiness, and his mistake was to put his happiness in her hands. Come on. Happiness never comes from outside of us. He was happy because of the love coming out of him, and she was happy because of the love coming out of her. But as soon as he made her responsible for his happiness, she broke the star because she could not be responsible for his happiness. Ooh. No matter how much the woman loved him, she could never make him happy because she could never know why. No, never know what he had in his mind. She could never know what his expectations were because she could not know his dreams. If you take your happiness and put it in someone else's hands, sooner or later, she is going to break it. If you give your happiness to someone else, she can always take it away. Then if happiness can only come from inside of you, and is the result of your love, you are responsible for your happiness. Game, set, match. We can never make anyone responsible for our own happiness. But when we go to the church to get married, the first thing we do is exchange rings. We put our star in each other's hands, expecting that she is going to make you happy and you are going to make her happy. It doesn't matter how much you love someone, you are never going to be what that person wants you to be. That is the mistake most of us make from the beginning. We base our happiness on our partner, and it doesn't work that way. We make all those promises that we cannot keep, and we set ourselves up to fail. Child, I don't know what else to say. I think we covered it all tonight. You are responsible for your standard of love, your standard of expression, your standard of happiness. You're responsible for that. You are. You are responsible for that. I think that is a great place to end it. Yeah. Thank you guys again for watching Reading with Miss Taylor Said. Thanks again for hanging out. Follow me everywhere, Miss Taylor said. And I have other pages that are I have other pages as well. You'll find them through Miss Taylor said if you look hard enough. And yeah, anyway, love you guys. I hope y'all have a lovely night and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.